Ever think about what happens when, like, one of the branches of government, uh, goes a little too far? Like, checks and balances are great and all, but what if the judiciary decides to kind of make up their own rules?
Yeah, it's kind of a sticky situation, right? And that's exactly what we're looking at today.
It's pretty wild.
So Representative Andy Biggs, he's put forward this resolution that's aiming to remove a federal judge.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. So we're talking about removing a judge, not just like reprimanding them or something.
Yep, full-on removal. And get this, he's trying to sidestep the whole impeachment process.
Okay, now that is interesting. I mean, we see all the time how tough it is to impeach anyone. So what's the workaround here?
Well, that's what we're diving into today, right?
Yeah.
We're going to break down this resolution, look at the accusations against the judge, and figure out just how Congressman Biggs plans to pull this off.
And we're basing this deep dive on an article from the Gateway Pundit, right?
Yeah, they've been following this story pretty closely.
Okay, so who is this judge that's causing such a stir?
So the judge at the center of all this is James Boasberg. He's the chief judge of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia.
Okay, the District of Columbia. So we're talking big-time cases here, right? This isn't some small-town court.
Exactly. This court handles a lot of high-profile stuff, so this is definitely a big deal.
All right, so what's the main accusation? What did this Judge Boasberg do that's got Congressman Biggs so riled up?
The big issue here is that Biggs claims Boasberg broke the Constitution's good behavior clause.
Good behavior. So, like, judges have to be on their best behavior all the time or they can get kicked out. Sounds kind of subjective.
Well, it is a bit open to interpretation, but that's kind of the point here. The clause is found in Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution, and it basically says that federal judges hold their jobs as long as they're behaving themselves.
So Biggs is saying that Boasberg isn't behaving. Okay, I'm hooked. Let's get into the specifics. What exactly did this judge do?
A lot of the focus is on how Boasberg's supposedly interfered with a directive from President Trump to deport members of the Tren de Aragua gang.
Tren de Aragua? That sounds kind of familiar. Are they like a dangerous group?
Yeah, they're a pretty notorious gang, and this deportation order was based on the Alien Enemies Act, which President Trump invoked back on March 15th, 2025.
The Alien Enemies Act. Wow, okay, so this is serious stuff. We're not talking about parking tickets here.
Right. The resolution really emphasizes concerns about public safety and national security because of this gang, so you can see why this is a big deal.
Yeah, I'm starting to see why Biggs is so upset. So Trump used this act to order deportations, and then Boasberg stepped in. What exactly did he do?
According to the resolution, Boasberg straight up blocked the deportations. Biggs claims he overstepped his authority as a judge and basically sabotaged the president's ability to protect the country.
So this is like a judge versus the president kind of showdown. This is getting juicy.
Yeah, it's a pretty dramatic situation, and the resolution really goes hard on Boasberg. It says, and I quote, James Boasberg knowingly extended beyond the bounds of power of his office and unjustly interfered in the execution of foreign policy and national security for partisan purposes of halting the implementation of the president's foreign policy and for political gain.
Whoa, okay, they're not holding back at all. They're basically saying he deliberately obstructed the president for political reasons.
Yep, that's the gist of it. And it gets even more interesting.
Oh, there's more. Lay it on me.
So this resolution doesn't just focus on this one incident with the deportations. They also bring up concerns about Boasberg's time on something called the FISA court.
FISA court. I've heard that thrown around, but I'm not exactly sure what it is.
It's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. They deal with warrants for surveillance of suspected foreign spies and terrorists.
Oh, wow. So really sensitive stuff. And what did Boasberg supposedly do wrong there?
The accusation is that he abused his power and didn't properly disclose payments he received from sources outside the government.
That sounds shady. So they're painting a picture of this guy who's been playing fast and loose with the rules for a while now.
That's the impression they're giving. And the resolution specifically says, furthermore, James Boasberg has failed to disclose payments received from non-federal sources and abused his discretion during his term on the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court.
So they're saying this deportation thing wasn't just a one-off. It's part of a pattern of behavior.
Exactly. They're trying to build a case that he's unfit to be a judge.
Okay, so let's talk strategy. Impeachment is the usual way to remove a judge, right? But that takes a supermajority in the Senate, and that's a tough ask.
It's a really high bar to clear, especially in today's political climate. So Biggs is trying a different approach.
Right, I'm all ears. What's the plan?
He's invoking something called Congress's inherent authority under Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution.
Okay, and remind me again what that section's all about.
It's the part that gives Congress the power to create federal courts. And remember, it says judges hold their positions during good behavior.
Right, right. So Biggs is basically saying that Congress has the power to decide what good behavior means and to act if a judge isn't living up to it.
You got it. He's saying this power is separate from the impeachment process.
So impeachment is for like really serious offenses like treason or bribery, but this good behavior clause gives Congress another way to deal with judges who are maybe not criminal, but still problematic.
That's the argument. He's suggesting that Congress has a broader responsibility to oversee the judiciary and make sure judges are upholding the Constitution.
I see where he's going with this. So what's the advantage of going this route?
Well, he wouldn't need that two-thirds majority in the Senate. He's quoted as saying, his removal from office via impeachment, however, will undoubtedly be blocked by Democrats in the Senate, since it requires a two-thirds majority. My resolution, on the other hand, asserts pursuant to Article 3, Section 1, that rogue judges may be removed the same way we confirm them, by a simple majority.
A simple majority. That's a game changer. So he's saying if a simple majority can appoint a judge, then a simple majority should be able to remove one too.
Yep. It's definitely a bold move. And it gets to the heart of how much power Congress really has over the judiciary.
And Biggs is clearly fired up about this. He's quoted saying, "We cannot stand by while activist judges who incorrectly believe they have more authority than the duly elected president of the United States impose their own political agenda on the American people."
He's not mincing words, that's for sure.
And he doubles down on the good behavior clause, saying, Judge Boasberg abused his judicial authority for political gain and is not in compliance with the constitutional good behavior clause. He must not be permitted to remain in his position. Congress has a duty to fulfill the promises we've made to the American people, including defending the president's authority to enforce our laws.
Yeah, he's making it crystal clear that he believes Boasberg needs to go and that Congress has the power to make that happen.
So this whole thing is about more than just one judge. It's about the balance of power between the branches of government, right?
Absolutely. Biggs is basically trying to reassert Congress's authority over the judiciary. It's a power struggle.
And the Gateway pundit, they're definitely on board with this. They're calling it a direct shot across the bow at activist judges.
Yeah, they're framing this as a fight against judges who they believe are overstepping their bounds and pushing a political agenda.
And it's important to remember that the Gateway pundit is considered a top conservative news outlet founded by Jim Hoft. So their coverage is definitely going to be favorable to Biggs and his efforts.
Right. Their article highlights all the alleged misconduct by Boasberg and really emphasizes how this new approach could be a way to rein in judges they see as problematic.
So just to recap, we've got a congressman who is convinced that a federal judge has been acting badly and exceeding his authority. And because impeachment is such a long shot, he's proposing this whole new way to remove judges based on the good behavior clause.
And he's arguing that this is perfectly constitutional and that Congress has a duty to step in and hold judges accountable.
Which raises some really big questions. What does this mean for the independence of the judiciary? If judges can be removed more easily, will they be less likely to make unpopular decisions, even if those decisions are legally sound?
It's a valid concern. This could potentially lead to judges feeling more pressure from Congress and less willing to act as a check on the other branches of government.
It's a real dilemma, right? On the one hand, you want judges to be accountable, but on the other hand, you don't want them to be swayed by political wins.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And this whole situation really highlights that tension.
Well, this has been a fascinating look at a really unusual challenge to the way we think about removing judges. This could have major implications for the future of the judiciary.
It definitely could. It's a reminder that the balance of power in our government is constantly evolving.
So now we want to hear from you, our listeners. What do you think about all this? Is Congressman Biggs right to push for this new way of removing judges? Is it a necessary check on judicial overreach or a dangerous threat to the independence of the courts?
Yeah, head down to the comment section and let us know your thoughts. This is a complex issue with no easy answers. We're really curious to hear what you all have to say.
It's a conversation that needs to be had. So jump in and let's discuss.